Hey there. So I want to talk to you in this video about something that's gotten really popular, detoxing and cleansing. So you've probably heard about these fancy detox plans, and here's the thing. A lot of them do it the wrong way, and then it can actually make you feel worse and not better. A lot of times people will have what they call Herxheimer's reactions or detox reactions where they say, oh, you're going to feel worse before you feel better. Well, that's a clear sign that we didn't support our detox pathways efficiently enough. So when I work with people and we're in the detox phase of anything, we want to make sure that those detox pathways are nice and strong. And if you do start to experience some of those symptoms, we know we either need to slow it down or we need to find ways to support those pathways better if possible. So think about all of the stuff that your body deals with every day. There's chemicals in the air that you breathe, the water you drink, the food that you eat. Even the purest of foods is not pure. We don't live in the Garden of Eden anymore. Pure foods really don't exist. Does that mean that we don't eat organic food? Absolutely not. It means that even the best that we have access to is still nowhere near clean or uncontaminated. So, on top of that, we've got all of these bad germs that can make toxins inside your body too. So you probably feel like you need to get rid of all that junk right away. And I get that, just get it out. But detoxing too fast without the right prep can really create more harm and more damage than good. So a good way to think about it, a great analogy, is your body is like a big city. And each of those cells is like a house in that city. Now imagine if everyone in the city took out their trash, but no garbage company, waste company came to pick it up. That's pretty gross, right? So the garbage would just pile up and it would make a huge mess. And that's what's going to happen in your body if you try to detox and you don't have a way for those toxins to actually leave. And 9 times out of 10, you're in this situation because your detox pathways were compromised to begin with. So when we start a program with someone, the beginning steps are always to make sure that those detox pathways are nice and strong. And once we know that they are, then we can continue to support them throughout the detox process so that we don't get just a load of trash laying around, which will create lots of symptoms, Herxheimer's reactions, and responses where you're getting worse before you're getting better, kind of thing. So I want to explain the drainage system, how it works, why it's important. And I want to show you something called the drainage funnel. So it's a guide to how your body moves fluids and removes toxins step by step. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at this funnel and then we'll go through each level here. So let's see, share. And here we go with the drainage funnel. So that should put it all in your screen. Perfect. Good. So you see here, the bottom of the funnel is the colon, and you have to work at the bottom and work your way up. Okay. So your large intestine or your colon, that's at the bottom of the funnel. If your colon is backed up, everything upstream from it can become backed up as well. And that happens when you're constipated, if you're not efficiently moving that waste and moving those toxins that your body needs to clean out. So pushing a detox without first, again, supporting your colon, your large intestine, huge mistake. Constipation is like a waste processing plant in your city that doesn't empty its tanks. Think about that. Okay. So if you have, some people have like septic tanks, for example, imagine if you didn't have that leach field or if you didn't have that release system for that septic tank, it's just going to back up into your house. Okay. So if you try to force upstream detox at whatever level and that outflow isn't moving, then you're going to have problems. So you got to poop regularly. Some people say, oh, I go once a week. That's totally normal for me. I've been doing it my whole life. It's not totally normal. We have to fix that before we move further. We've got to. It's not going to end well if we don't. So you have to have bowel movements so that you have that release system for waste and toxins. Okay. So you need to poop. I mean, ideally you'd poop every time you ate, and 2 to 3 times a day, depending on the person and what their fuel schedule is like. I call it a fueling schedule instead of an eating schedule. But that doesn't mean that we want watery stools either. We want this gentle elimination without straining, and that's what we're looking for. So sometimes we need to take herbs for our bowel health, certain herbs that stimulate movement, and that can help combat. We want to make sure that you're getting plenty of fiber in. Fiber will bulk up your stools, making that elimination easier. So some good sources are, your fruits, nuts, seeds, vegetables. Those are good sources of fiber. Standard Process makes a great whole food fiber powder, much healthier than like Metamucil and those terrible contaminated, really toxic ones that you get in like Walmart or CVS. Another way is to use binders. So binders can help remove toxins from the body to help promote that healthier microbiome, and that can encourage regular elimination as well. So the binders that we use are very safe. They don't bind to your nutrients. If you just go and use like activated charcoal, or again, the average binder that you can get in the store, it's going to be something that will bind to everything, the good and the bad. So when the binders that we use are not that at all. Another thing is you want to get regular physical activity. So moving your body regularly really supports. They've actually done studies, and they've been able to prove that regular physical activity increases the good bacteria in your gut, and that will then help move those things. Even if it's something gentle like walking, qigong, start somewhere. It doesn't mean, if you have physical issues that where you're constrained in that way, it doesn't mean that, I can't run 5 miles, so I can't have physical activity. Just getting your body moving at whatever that next level is for you is going to be really, really important. Stay hydrated. This is huge. It's a big one. If you are dehydrated, you're going to be constipated. You have to drink plenty of water because your body needs water for survival. So what it'll do is it'll hold the feces in your colon, and it will suck out whatever fluid it has in there. And then it goes through your other systems, which are already overloaded, or you wouldn't be in that place, to clean it so that your body can try to use it for survival for water. So that's huge. And especially if you're the kind of person that has had a long history of constipation, and progress, not perfection, that we want to just make steps further until we can get you to at least every day. It may require addressing other factors. We may need to deal with some parasites. We may need to really get to the heart of that constipation. Tackling those critters, can be a big deal in supporting that process. So if that's something that's necessary for you. So just above your colon, in that funnel, you'll see are the liver and bile ducts, okay? Your liver is like the reservoirs that collect that wastewater from the entire town. It separates the water and the waste. Then the water can be cleaned and sent back to the houses for reuse. Your liver filters out those toxins from your blood. It processes them so that you can eliminate them, and then they're deposited in your bile, okay? The bile is then released through those bile ducts in your small intestine during digestion, and some of that bile is caught up in your stools and eliminated, and that helps lower your toxin level. So this is a big one when it comes to people that have had their gallbladder removed, because that bile process is really significantly impaired. And I know they say it doesn't matter, you don't need your gallbladder, but that's not true. You absolutely need your gallbladder, and this process is compromised and not working as well if that's impaired, or if that's no longer there, I should say. So if you're in a situation where your gallbladder is really stressed, then we need to bring that back to healthy, and it's very possible. I've had people that have been in situations where, okay, you need emergency surgery now. They chose not to do it. They did other things, and their gallbladder is perfectly fine, and they still have it right now. So now if you're sepsis and the doctor says you got to do what you got to do, I mean, hopefully we're dealing with this before we get to that place. Okay. That's the goal, because we want to preserve that organ in every case we possibly can. So overall, it's a really good system, but sometimes these harmful factors will really disrupt it. So sometimes there are blocked bile ducts. So just like the drains in your house can get clogged, so can your bile ducts. And then as a result of that, those toxins and the bile acids can stagnate and accumulate in your liver and then they can damage that organ. On top of that, that stagnation, it breeds sickness. So if you're not moving toxins out efficiently, they can contribute to chronic illness. Lots of factors can lead to bile duct inflammation, damage, the narrowing of it, blockages, and some of those triggers are pathogens. So some hepatitis and herpes infections, they can cause bile duct inflammation and the destruction of those bile ducts. Sometimes it's parasites. They can obstruct your bile ducts. Bacteria, that can be, there's lots of different bacterias that can do it, and that can lead to inflammation and obstruction. Toxins, so glyphosate is huge if you're eating genetically modified food. And again, these days it's impossible to completely avoid it, but get it down as low as you possibly can. And that's where organic is helpful. The glyphosate and those other chemical toxins, they can trigger reduced bile production and flow. And when we look at animal studies, we know that if you limit your toxin exposure by choosing organic foods more often, you can make a big impact there. Drugs, so antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, antidepressants, and there's a few other different types that will do it as well. They can disrupt bile flow. Okay, you'd never think of an antidepressant as impacting your bile flow, but it absolutely does. Excess estrogen, if you have too much estrogen in your system, meaning, and that could be chemical versions or chemicals that mimic estrogen as well. So this could be birth control pills, hormone replacement therapy. I see so many women who are on hormone replacement therapy and they're not monitoring their levels, they're just taking it, and they could be creating other issues. And then that also increases your risk of gallstones. So, and then obviously they can for sure lead to bile duct blockages. So sometimes that inflammation and that scarring can cause those things, and sometimes it can even go as far as to result in a dysfunction of your sphincter of Oddi. So if you have, well, not if you, but you have a muscular valve called the sphincter of Oddi, and that controls the release of bile into your small intestine. So the name comes from a medical student, and he's the one that identified the valve back in the 1800s. So a scarring here can interfere with this valve, and it can also can be caused by a shortfall of T4, which is a thyroid hormone. But it doesn't just work on your thyroid gland. Thyroxine also triggers that sphincter of Oddi relaxation, and that enables the bile to flow through. So if you don't have enough T4, so in some cases of hypothyroidism, or maybe they haven't been able to diagnose your hypothyroidism, that sometimes will come as a result because that sphincter of Oddi may not open when it should. So as a result, those toxins and bile acids can back up in your liver and in your bile ducts. So hypothyroidism can also increase your risk of gallstones for that reason. When bile isn't moving as it should, the cholesterol in it becomes more concentrated. So when that happens, it's more likely to crystallize and form stones. So, you know, we want to talk about how you can prevent some of these glitches, right, from happening. So one, you want to avoid toxin buildup in your liver and your bile ducts. And we can do that with, there's herbs that will help you do that. And what's right for you? Well, everybody is a little bit different. When we do the muscle testing, when we do the biofeedback, we refine that different people will respond to different things and at different times throughout your program. So depending on what your body's healing and what it's working on, it may prefer these herbs this round over these herbs, and then next time it may want these herbs. And sometimes it's just minerals and nutrients. So like zinc, that's huge because it helps to protect your liver cells from damage. Now again, too much zinc will deplete other minerals like copper. So you don't want to just blindly supplement zinc. Standard Process makes a zinc test that's really helpful. And we continue to evaluate that through programs when we work with people as well. Minerals, other minerals like selenium, magnesium, they also really help liver detoxification. Coffee enemas, long used tool for liver detoxification. A coffee enema can encourage your bile ducts to dilate, and that supports the release of bile. So coffee enemas can be a huge support for people in that situation. So where does that bile go? If your liver and your bile ducts are backed up, well, if it can't flow through that funnel, then it could flow out into your tissues and your organs instead, and that can lead to really uncomfortable symptoms and damage to your other organs. So when your liver can't push bile into your bowels, a trap door opens to release it into your bloodstream. It's like, well, we've got to put this somewhere. And then the toxic bile acids may end up in other organs. So I'm going to scroll down and show you this one. So you see right here where the liver bile duct is, there's that little trap door, and it'll flow out through your skin, kidneys, lungs. It creates an overflow in these areas. When your kidneys get overflowed, when your lungs get over, then it starts backing up into other areas in addition. So it gives you a great visual as to how these things are impacted. Okay. So, and it can lead to damage in the lining of your lungs and your kidneys. And that can increase free radicals, which is going to increase inflammation and all that good stuff. So in your skin, that can, that's an itchy, inflamed skin. This is in part due to an activation of those mast cells. And these are immune cells that release histamine, and that causes the itching. If you're experiencing these symptoms, you may want to really get on some hardcore liver support. Make sure you're pooping first. And then when you start moving bile, it'll have somewhere to go. Okay. So let's go back up to the other funnel, and we're going to look at the lymphatic system. So that's the next spot. And a lot of times this is overlooked, but this is really, really important, because it's a network of these vessels that drain fluids from your body tissues. Your blood vessels leak fluid into your tissues to the degree of several liters a day. One of your lymphatic system's jobs is to collect that fluid and return it to your blood. But first, your lymph nodes have to filter out the pathogens and the bacteria and the toxins so your immune cells can deal with them. And unfortunately, your lymph doesn't always flow as much as we need it to. Unlike your cardiovascular system, your lymph has no pump pushing it where it needs to go. The best pump that your lymphatic system has is your diaphragm. So breath work is really important. Cardiovascular exercise or cardio exercise is important, because so that's like the where the movement comes in, where the breathing comes in, because it forces your diaphragm to pump, and that's the best pump that your lymphatic system has. So it's really important. We need to be able to sweat. Okay, so don't use antiperspirant deodorant. We have to be sweating. We have to be releasing those toxins. The worse your sweat smells, the more junk you're getting rid of, and hopefully you get to a place where you continue to detoxify and you're not getting rid of as much of that junk, which is great. And then the smell naturally goes away, and you find very little need for deodorant at that point. So focus on deodorant, not antiperspirant. Your body needs to sweat. So poor lymphatic movement results in the swelling of tissue. If you've ever had a fluid buildup in your ankles, you know exactly what that lymph stagnation can be like. Sluggish lymph movement is also linked to cellulite, okay, because the lymph can get stuck in fat tissue. Cellulite is that lumpy, dimply skin that you get in your thighs, your hips, your butt, as we get older, particularly in women. Sometimes genetically we are more prone to cellulite. And again, it just means that we need to work a little bit harder for those women that are genetically prone to that, to keep that lymphatic movement going in a healthy way. So how do we do that? So again, there are herbs that can stimulate lymphatic flow. Physical movement stimulates lymphatic flow. So even if you're going for a walk, that something is better than nothing. That's helpful. Rebounder, like rebounding on a little mini trampoline, that's a great way to do it. But you got to get the fluid moves by your muscles contracting. So you've got to have some movement there. Massage is a great way to do it. If you're lucky enough to be able to get massages regularly, that's a great way to do it. If you have a reaction after you have a massage, again, that's a big indication that something lower down is stuck, because what your lymphatic system is releasing is getting stuck. And then a sauna. I sauna as much as I possibly can. Hopefully, 5 to 7 times a week. If I could do it every day, I absolutely would. When I can do it every day, I do it every day. But it's a priority on my schedule, and I love my sauna. So Above your lymphatic system, you're going to see organs and tissues there. So the brain is a really key focus here. It doesn't have a true lymphatic system, but it does clear cellular waste and fluids from your brain using the glymphatic system. So the glymphatic network in your brain is like that fleet of garbage trucks, okay? It's collecting waste in the city, then the garbage is delivered to your lymphatic system for removal, okay? It's a very efficient process. But the caveat is that the waste removal in your brain mainly happens when you sleep. During the day, your brain is busy processing information. So that garbage collection is a very low priority during the day. When we think about things like melatonin and not getting enough sleep, if we're robbing ourselves of even 1 hour of sleep every night, just 1 hour shy every night over the course of a week, that adds up to an entire night's sleep lost. Okay, that's 7 hours over the course of a week that you're losing. And that's an entire night's sleep over that course of a week that your body doesn't have to utilize this function. So in my programs, we talk a lot about sleep. Sleep has got to be a priority. We think sleep is optional. Sleep is not optional. It's very important. And melatonin is a key factor there. We think of melatonin when we think of sleeping, but melatonin is a big support and help for this lymphatic system. Okay. So we have to get sleep. A minimum, bare minimum of 7 hours of sleep a night. 8 hours of sleep is amazing. If you can get that consistently every night, win-win. So that's huge. And then the top of the funnel. So your cells. So your cells are at the very top. Cells are like the houses in the city. So each home has waste. Sorry, that distracted me. Threw me off. But each home has these waste products from, think about it, draining your tub, you flushing your toilet, your trash cans. So your cells have toxins in those waste that it needs to get rid of, just like we have to get rid of it in our house. So some of the wastes and the toxins, they accumulate from external sources. So like air pollution, heavy metals, mycotoxins, pesticides. So these can all cause mitochondrial dysfunction. So you do need to get rid of them. But again, as you can see, there's a specific order that we have to do this. And if we don't do it right, again, you're going to be in trouble. So mitochondria generate the energy needed to support detoxification. They also play a role in immune defense and DNA repair. So you need them working really well to support the whole process and to reduce your risk of disease. But the solution isn't to just push the detoxification of these contaminants on the first day of your journey. We've got to take you through the process, and that's where you need to work with someone to do that. If the drainage pathways that are listed here aren't flowing, ramping up your detox is going to be the worst thing that you could do. And you may not feel the impact of that immediately, but long-term health, it will create disease in your body. So we've got to support the drainage. We have to open it up. And lay that groundwork so that we can heal in a healthy way. So think about working with someone that can walk you through that. If your health is less than optimal, then you're on the right track to do a detox. Yes, that's going to be something that's important. But we need to make sure that things are flowing. If you have constipation, a clogged liver, sluggish lymph, you're not going to be able to detox well. So these areas are going to be stagnant or clogged. And that's just going to exacerbate, your issues, and you're not going to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So work with someone that's very familiar with this. Work with someone that understands this process. If someone is a strong believer in Herxheimer's reactions, and it's going to happen. And yes, when we release things from the cells, that's going to create an issue. But if we do it in the right order and we open up these pathways first, before we ask those cells to release more garbage, then it's going to work out really, really well. So I hope that you found this helpful in understanding the process. And if you want to work with someone that is familiar with that process, reach out, let me know. I would be happy to walk through it with you. You can give my office a call, 207-358-0748. Visit our website, thrivingproof.com. Email is info@thrivingproof.com, and we'll be happy to get you started.